know we always say that we work with two of the biggest personalities in Scottish football, and Ali McCoist and Chris Sutton. Out here in Germany, does anyone actually know who they are? Let's find out. Can I ask you, I'm from Scotland. Have you ever heard of somebody called Ali McCoist?
No.
Football. How about Chris Sutton?
No.
Never heard of him?
Never.
Means nothing to you?
No.
Chris Sutton?
Sutton. Nothing? Okay, thanks. Do you know somebody called Ali McCoist? No. You know the Europa League is being played in Germany right now. So I'm from Scotland, and there's a very famous player from Scotland called Ali McCoist. He thinks people all over the world know him. Do you know Ali McCoist?
No.
He's been in a Hollywood movie. Chris Sutton. He used to play for England once anyway. Have you ever heard of him? Thinks he's really famous. He's been in a movie with Robert Duvall. No, nothing. What about Chris Sutton? He was an English player. He got one cap for England.
No.
Have you heard of Ali McCoist?
Have you heard of him?
Ex-Scotland international? No? He won the Premier League, it tells me. Chris Sutton? Have you ever heard of Ali McCoist?
No.
Ali McCoist? He's been in a movie before.
Chris Sutton?
Yes. Here's a bloke that'll know, I'm sure. Ever heard of Ali McCoist?
Ali McCoist. I'm racking my brains. Search me. I never heard of him, mate.
Thought so.
Brilliant. I can't believe Darky's put a final nail in the coffin.
Right, here we go, guys, with another Scottish football extra with two men who no one in Germany has any idea of who they are. Welcome along, gentlemen. What a start to the show that was.
Listen, I was handling it fine till Darky put a final nail in my coffin. Wait till I see her. That was brilliant. I've got to say, I really enjoyed that.
Yes,
And you know,
Ian Dark, a commentator with a cameo.
I've got to say to you, the look of bewilderment and some of them German it was fantastic. Oh, peace of work, lads. That's tickled me.
Ali, I've been following your life on Instagram. I mean, last week it was Gogglebox, but the week after that you're trying to go on another show. This week, is it Country File? I mean, what are you trying to achieve in these walks?
Well, I'm looking at my mate down the road and he's got books coming out, he's got CDs coming out, he's recording music for what he's cutting. So, I'm just trying to touch him, Darryl. It's a difficult job, and I'm not getting any younger, but I've just got to cry. I'm hanging on to that man's coattails down there.
Anyway, look, we'll put all that behind us. We're going to talk football in just a moment, but first, a look back on the week in 60 seconds with Stephen McGowan.
Hibs chairman Ron Gordon wants the SPFL to dock points from clubs when players get careless. Livingston's artificial pitch has been doing that for years. Steven Gerrard's team had the chance to prove they could cope with the heights at the top of the table. Like last year, they had a bad case of vertigo. Ryan Kent missed a late chance in a 0-0 draw, and with Leeds United sniffing around, you wonder how many more chances the winger will get. As Rangers fly in blanks, Celtic released 8 days of frustration and savoured the joy of 6. Gordon Strachan and John Hart and Gunter Greer where Orson Edward really is a number 9.
He's not a number 9, he's a 10.
I'm not sure if he's a 10. Why should he learn and not play him as a 10?
Play that way just now. He's a 10, he just proved it to you. He just wandered back there and
I don't think he's a 10, I think he's an
and
out
from
number
6 yards, he missed a header from 6 yards.
But the striker's 4th goal in 3 games against KR Reykjavik earned him a perfect 10. In contrast, Derek McInnes doesn't have a fit striker to his name, but he does have Ryan Hedges. And the Aberdeen winger's trim finish cuts St Johnstone down to size after an edgy night in Perth.
Yeah, really good victory for Aberdeen midweek. They needed that, didn't they? We'll come back to the Dons a bit later on in the programme. But let's start with Celtic in Europe. Convincing, Chris, albeit you weren't too sure of the standard of the opposition. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. I'm sure Ali would have enjoyed the performance and watched and analysed the Celtic team extremely closely. But I thought Reykjavik didn't put up much of a show. In all honesty, it's a difficult one for Neil Lennon and the Celtic players to know actually what to take from it because they were so dominant. But a really strong performance. Elyounoussi chipped in with a couple of goals. Edouard's goal was absolutely fantastic. fantastic. I suppose the interesting aspects of the game were that he left Christopher Raya out. Was that a shock for him playing near Beaton? And good to see El Hamid back in. I think he's played very, very well in the Celtic jersey, and he's a good defender. I suppose Neil Lennon will be thinking about how he's going to have to manage him throughout the season because he is injury prone.
Chris, I was going to say to you,
brilliant goal
mate,
by Edouard.
clearly Chris just was going to say that a bit tougher proposition playing Ferencváros in the next qualifying round, but you think maybe Lenny's left Christopher Raya out, AC Milan have asked him just to not to play him for that particular game?
I think you're being slightly naughty there, Ali, aren't you? Look, I think the first couple of games for Celtic, the centre-halves haven't been at their best, so it's maybe a little warning shot too if you're going to have to liven up. Near Beaton came in, but Celtic have been linked with Shane Duffy. Now, I do think that would be a really, really good piece of business if Celtic can get it over the line. At first, when the rumours came out, I was thinking, can't be possible, but the longer this goes, I'm hearing that, there may be a possibility of him coming in. And if he does come in, I think Ali will be worried for his team.
This is definitely my worried face. I don't think I would be. I don't think I'd be exceptionally worried, Chris. But I will go on record as saying he's a player I think would certainly improve Celtic without doubt.
Who would he be the partner of, Chris, if no one leaves?
Well, I think you need to keep up, Darryl. And with modern football, there are so many games throughout the season that no doubt Celtic will have to rotate those positions. They haven't got enough centre-halves. They lost Simunovic. They needed to get another one in, and they're getting one in of real good quality.
Ali, this is like last week. You remember he said he just wants a name, Ali. Just wants a name. Can we get a name?
You can play three centre-halves, Darryl.
Yes,
I don't know whether you're aware, Darryl, there are different formations with football. You can play two centre-halves or three at the back.
Yeah, if you'd listened to the question, I just said, the usual back four that he plays, the usual back four, that would probably be Duffy plus one. Would you agree, Chris?
Yes, I would agree with that. Probably with
Just
Julian alongside.
There you go. He's dropping AC Milan's higher.
Yeah, Darryl, would you like me to answer that question? If Chris is unwilling to answer that one, I'll answer it for him. He'll definitely play with Julian, I would think. I would be staggered if that wasn't the centre-half pairing, the two of them.
So you just actually said what I said 10 seconds ago. I pretended it was an authentic answer.
No.
So fickle. Listen, what about outgoings, Chris, from Celtic? Do you think there's any truth in the rumour that Tom Rogic could leave? The amount of money that's been mentioned, £4 million. If that's the case, would you sell about that?
Look, I've seen that story. I mean, it's an unnamed club where you always have to be a bit dubious and sceptical when journalists come out and say an unnamed club. He has changed agent, I think, 6 months ago and if you change agent, I think it's a sign that he could well be moving on. And I think if you're looking at the team at this moment in time, you think they can't sell N'Cham because N'Cham can play a number of positions. But he can play in that 10 role. I think Rogic would be third choice at this moment in that role. So, wouldn't surprise me if he did leave.
Yes, exactly. Right, let's move on to Rangers, Ali, because of course they were trying to extend their lead over Celtic at the table while Celtic haven't been playing domestically. Could do that though against Livingston. Yeah. On that game, did they do enough in the match? I know they were pushing towards the end. It was a great save by the goalie as well, but did they do enough, Ali?
No, listen, they had the vast majority of the possession. And we sometimes get too carried away. I feel when I say we, I mean all of us as football fans. We get too carried away on statistics. And as I said to my two younger boys when we were watching the game, there's only at the end of the day, there's actually only one statistic that matters. And both teams that particular game failed to put a tick in that box, and that's scoring goals. Rangers were by far and away the better team, but I thought it was a pretty poor performance, to tell you the truth. But I'm not sure that Rangers going to Livingston require two defensive midfielders. I'm looking at Kamara and Jack, and I actually counted, believe it or not, my two boys, I counted the amount of passes that Kamara played forward during the 15-minute period, and I think it was one in about 18, 19, 20. Every other one went sideways or back the way.
I've just got a message in from Opta there, Ali. The kind of sideway passing stats are now going to be a regular feature of Scottish Football Extra.
Can I congratulate Ali on educating his sons that the most goals in football actually win games of football? It doesn't matter about possession. They must have been enlightened to learn that.
He's bringing up winners.
There's never a dull moment in my household when football's on. These children, they won't realise it just now, Chris, they won't realise it just now, but they are absolutely blessed with punditry of the highest order when I'm sitting on that couch.
The most goals win, boys.
Strong links,
I
Ali.
don't know whether you knew
Ryan
that or
Kent.
not.
Right. Ryan Kent, perhaps, to Leeds United. Ali, £10 million has been mentioned. It's clearly not going to be enough, considering Rangers paid £7 and there's a big sell-on fee as well if he goes again. However, at this stage of a season, and such a big season, and even though you've said Ryan Kent didn't quite reach where you'd like him to be last weekend, would you possibly sell him right now? Would you do that unless it's an extreme amount of money?
Unless it's an extreme amount of money, you can't. I don't think you can sell him, guys. As I say, he's the one player you've got that's capable of doing something a little bit different and creating something. And indeed, scored a great goal with left foot, similar to one he scored at Celtic Park last year. He's just, as I said, he's something different that Rangers don't have. There's a predictability about them in the middle, I think. Arfield is probably the only one that will really go forward. I know Aribo will score goals as well, but if you look at perhaps Davis, Kamara and Jack, there's a similarity about them, you know, and they need something a little bit different, and Kent gives them that. As I say, I don't think he certainly wasn't fantastic at the weekend, but if you sell him, I think you're selling a very, very high percentage of the creativity in your team, and indeed he will create opportunities, whether it's for the new strikers or indeed Morelos if he stays.
Okay, Ali, guys, I want to get to the quiz in just a minute, but there's one other thing we have to touch on in this part, and that is that players have left Rangers this week. Greg Docherty's away to Hull. I think more interestingly from the Rangers fans' point of view, Ali, and you'll have seen this now because you're all over social media, is Ross McCrory going to Aberdeen. Some of the Rangers fans seemed absolutely furious that Rangers had done business with Aberdeen. If you'd been the Rangers manager, Ali, what would your stance have been?
I think Aberdeen have got a good signing. I think Derek's been very, very shrewd. I'm also a little bit surprised that Rangers would sell or let a player go to one of the bigger rivals, one of the biggest rivals, in fact. That surprised me a little bit. But so in answer to your question, it wouldn't have been my ideal club for him to move to just because you're strengthening the opposition.
Shall we move on to the quiz? You know there's been a bit of debate this week over whether Odsonne Edouard is a number 9 or a number 10. I'm sure you've kept up with those battles that were going on this week. So the question this week, I'm going to ask you both is, can you name any Celtic number 9s or 10s since squad numbers were introduced back in the 1998-99 season? So if you give me a Stevie Chalmers or a Frank McAvenny, obviously that's not going to count. We're looking for any players who've had both their name... Correct. And either their number 9 or 10 in the back since squad numbers. I can't remember. I think McCoist went first last week and he's 2-1 up in the series. So Chris, since this one should really suit you down to the ground, Chris, great chance to draw the series level. You should go first. I'll mark them off.
So number 9 or number 10s for Celtic? Okay.
Since 1998-99. Correct.
Me.
That's embarrassing starting yourself, by the way. That is embarrassing.
That's the only one I know. I know the number.
I see what you're doing. You're starting from the bottom and working their way up, right? I get that. That's good thinking. And ability to start at the bottom. Yeah. Good thinking, mate. I will go for... I'm going to take a chance right away. No messing about. Harold Bratpack.
Correct.
Johnny Hartson.
I think I heard John Hartson, which is correct.
Yeah. How long does he get here?
Not much longer.
It's not a question of sport.
Dembele.
Correct.
Gary Hooper.
3-1 Ali McCoist.
What
Chris. I'll read out the answers you didn't give me. Dion Dublin, Kenny Miller, Georges Samaras, John
Ridiculous.
Guidetti and Lee Griffiths are all current number 9s. Other 10s, Pavel Berkovic, Jan Venegur of Hesselink, Marc-Antoine Fortuny, Anthony Stokes, Bayo and a Yeti. How about that?
Yeah.
Right, we need to go to the break. It's 3-1
What was
because
Hooper
Chris
then?
in despair.
What was Hooper?
Shame. I don't know, Google it, but he's not a 9 or a 10. We're taking a break. Stay where you are. Stephen Craigan is going to join us next. Welcome back to part 2 of Scottish Football Extra. As you can see, Stephen Craigan has joined us. We'll chat to Crags in just a moment. But first, we're going to check in with Rory Hamilton and Michael Stewart, who have been out for a stroll in the capital this week. And they started by discussing Michael's favourite subject, which is Michael's manor.
So Michael has brought me all the way east to Edinburgh, and I tell you what, have a look at this. He is doing all right for himself.
Morning, Rory.
Morning, Michael. Lord of the Manor, eh?
Laird, Rory. Laird. And you come.
Thank you. Michael, look at this. Nicola Sturgeon has just said that by the 14th of September, we can have fans back in the game.
I tell you, that is huge news, isn't it? It really is. We all know the fact that fans are so important for the Scottish game in terms of the money they bring in relation to TV deals. Fans are really central. So the possibility of getting fans back in from next month is a massive bonus. Whatever revenue can be brought in, whether it's 20, 30, 40% of the fans coming in, buying things in the stadium, drinks, food, the atmosphere as well, that's a massive part of it. So that is really, really welcome.
That's enough about the football. Are you going to show me the rest of this place?
Let's go into the garden, Rory. Come on, let's go.
How good is it to have Dundee United back in the top flight, and what a start they've made as well?
Yeah, it's good, Rory. It's good to see them. You know, 2 victories, a draw and a defeat now, and the next one's going to be a huge game, though. Obviously, home to Celtic doesn't come much tougher than that. And it's important they got that victory last week against Ross County, which means they'll be going into this game against Celtic fully confident.
So we getting any closer to the edge of the boundary of your property?
You see that building over on the hill over there?
Big one?
Yeah, the boundary just about up to the edge there.
Well, what about it? Massive game down the bottom of the Lanarkshire Derby as well.
That's a huge game, Rory, there's no doubt about it. You know, Hamilton struggling so far this season, and for Motherwell, a slow start, but no better game to try and get that victory with the Lanarkshire Derby.
And what about the future of David Turnbull?
Well, it's obviously a big question mark as to how long he's going to be at Motherwell. You know, we're seeing that Celtic might be interested again, and no wonder, because for me he's a top class player and he's destined to go right to the top of the game.
Tell you what, we're almost destined for the top here, almost there.
Not far, Rory.
Well, and right up the top of the table, Hibernian, and what a job Jack Ross is doing.
He's doing a great job at the moment, there's no doubt about that. They've got a good squad, and you know, I think they deserve to be up the top. And obviously they've got this game on Sunday, the last team to play. They'll know what they need to do to go back to the top of the table if they can get the victory and score some goals. And they'll be in fine fettle at the moment, there's no doubt about that.
Some lovely shots in that piece, but Ali, what about that house?
Oh, beautiful, Dan. I've got to say, a beautiful house. It reminds me very much of an extension I put on one of my places up north. Beautiful house. Beautiful.
Oh, Stephen, shall we move on? Where should we start on the football then? Should we start on what is a big match ahead for Motherwell and for Hamilton at the weekend? That Lanarkshire Derby, always tasty.
There is indeed, Darryl. There's no doubt about it. Both clubs have had a difficult or indifferent start to the season. I watched Hamilton 2 or 3 weeks ago at home to Ross County, and I thought they were poor on the day. You know, they lacked any kind of structure of what they were trying to do. There was no real key player that stood out you thought could influence the game for them. Motherwell had a tough start, but I looked at their game last week against Hibs, and I thought they were very impressive. I thought they were getting back into the rhythm of what they were at last season. It takes a while sometimes to just gel the new players together, people settling in. And if Motherwell can replicate that performance on Saturday, I have no doubt that they can win the game.
Is it too early, Stephen, to suggest it's a relegation battle this season for both clubs?
Well, I think you actually mentioned it in your question, so that probably tells you it is far too early in the season. What are you, 4 games in?
Crags, can I ask you how's Turnbull looked on his return? Because he's a player obviously we all like.
Yeah. Do you know what, Ali? last weekend against Hibs, I thought he was back to closer to where he was previously. I actually spoke to him after the game because young players sometimes need, someone who's worked with them or know them just to give them a little kind of confidence boost. I thought he looked himself. He was on the ball. He always wanted possession. He's got a goal in him, as we know, so he just looked as if he was enjoying himself again. And the worry was away, and he was forgetting about his knee, and he was focused on his football. So I think he's not far away.
Do you think, Ali, a fit David Turnbull would get in the Rangers midfield?
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting to see if Celtic come knocking again, because of course talk of Rogic maybe leaving. Maybe that's someone they would bring in. They've been watching again, Stephen, haven't they? Look, Stephen, I know you'll obviously hope for a Motherwell victory at the weekend. Once they get through that game, soon after they've got the Stephen Craigan derby.
I watched the game last night. They struggled at times. They were lacking in fitness. Torshavn side were probably slightly ahead. So, listen, it's a huge game for them. They have a big investment. They've got an Iranian owner now who's been putting money in over the past year, 18 months, just to try and get them up to full-time football, see if they can improve, see if they can get into European football. So, but it's a tie that Motherwell will look at and think they can win and probably should win. So it's certainly going to be intriguing.
Just before we move on, Stephen, whereabouts are you? That's not your house. That's a new location for you, isn't it?
No, it's not. I can't afford a manor, Daryl, unfortunately. I'm actually away for a few days on a course, and it's strange. I'm in Lincolnshire, and I've never met as many people who dislike one of our pundits on today. Honestly, his name is Mud down here, and it's great to hear.
He's not popular down there, Ali.
Listen, hey, Craig, I think you're fighting out the whole of the UK, mate. It's the whole of the UK. It's not just Lincolnshire.
Oh, is it? Right, okay.
And Germany, as we've now found out, by the way. Right, let's move on to Aberdeen. Ali, I'm sure you were watching their victory against St Johnstone. It's a hard watch at times, but given what's happened to the Dons recently, look, any 3 points, given the change that they've had to make, was essential, wasn't it? And that's a great way to get them.
Yeah, I watched the game last night. Not the easiest in the eye. It was a pretty poor game, to be brutally honest with you. And the goal kind of summed it up. Hedges come in the left-hand side, a little bit of a deflection. That said, massive 3 points for Derek and Aberdeen. A big 3 points. And I look at the Aberdeen side, and he's quite right. He's still missing his centre forwards. But I tell you what I was looking at, they're going to be one big physical team this year, Aberdeen. I'm looking at even the signing of McCrory. You've obviously McKenna, Fergus in the middle of the park, Cosgrove, Curtis Main. They're going to be one big side. And I would expect them.
Size isn't everything, Ali.
That is 100% true. You'll never know how much I know that's true, Chris. But at the same time, I do think they'll have a physicality about them, particularly at set plays, which will make them a real threat. And I expect them to be far better this year. I really do.
And Livingston obviously need a new striker in as well. Chris, don't think his Lyndon Dykes off to QPR. It sounds like he's going to be a Scotland international at some point as well, going by what Mark Warburton had to say after he signed the deal there. But tough to replace him for Livy, albeit they've been linked with Anthony Stokes, a return to Scotland perhaps.
Surprises me a little bit, that one, because it's not like for like. The problem Livingston had at the weekend against Rangers is they couldn't get up the pitch. So you think that they would need a physical type of centre forward. They do play long balls. Anthony Stokes isn't that type of footballer. He's an intelligent player, will come off and drift and get on the half turn and slide balls. Dykes is a massive loss to Livingston, and also his goals were really important for them. So he certainly needs replacing.
Dykes, Ali, I know you've always been a big fan of him. In fact, I think you feel that Rangers should have gone in and signed him for that kind of money.
I'm really surprised that Rangers didn't go and get him. And I'm not even talking about paying the $2 million that QPR paid. I'm talking about a year ago, because he gives you something different.
Ali, I noticed that last week, you always say game of the week. Give us two last week, Ali. One was Motherwell Hibs, the other one was Livingston v Rangers. And between the two of them, you got no goals, mate. So I mean, you got one for us this time that's actually any good.
Yeah, I kind of let myself down a little bit. But, I'm one of these pundits, unlike the other guys here, Darryl. I'll stick my neck out and give you a prediction for a game. I will do that.
I wouldn't bother sticking your neck out if that's your best.
My game
in.
Darryl, it'll be the team that's obviously come up into the league and have been very impressive. A good start from Mickey Mellon's Dundee United side, and I think they're hosting Celtic in the evening game. That's a game I'm really looking forward to. I'll be watching that one. In between the Europa final and the Champions League final.
man, Ali. Good man. Stephen, I guess a bit of good news as well is that fans are going to be back in the stadium sooner rather than later. Some of them anyway. We're awaiting more details. But September the 14th, the given date, even a bit of a press report that maybe Celtic up against Motherwell before that might be a test event. But look, just let's get some back in when we can, when it's safe, because the fans deserve to see the games in person.
It seemed a very contradictory message, Darryl, when you consider last week Scottish football got a yellow card and was warned that it could be shut down any day. There was actually fears that it may be stopped immediately. So it seems strange that a week later, suddenly everything seems to be resolved. We're allowing fans back into the stadium, social distancing, I get it, absolutely. So number-wise, I don't know. You look at the bigger clubs, Rangers, Celtic, Hibs, Aberdeen, with a lot of season ticket holders. How do you pick and how do you choose who's going to go in? The smaller clubs may benefit because they don't have as many season ticket holders who initially will get entrance to it. So all the best with that one, but thankfully it looks like we're moving forward.
Brighter for you as well, Ali, because apparently from Monday you get back out to the fives.
Can't wait. Can't wait. I think the fives have missed me as much as I've missed the fives, guys. It's my only concern is, and it's a genuine concern, I think I might have lost half a yard during the COVID period. And a little bit like the Rangers two strikers, I think I need to bed myself in kind of gently over the next couple of weeks regarding the five-a-sides. But it's great. It's absolutely smashing. Get back to run about with the boys. Our producer Keegs will go on the bench. He'll get the odd game, maybe one game every 6 months. I'm really looking forward to it.
Right, guys, since we're talking about fans getting back into the stadiums, I'll say thank you very much to all of you again. Thank you for watching at home. We will leave you with the supporters.
It was clear to see last week